Okay. Mr. Barker, Mr. Shea, your next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Katarina Tatkin.
Solemnly swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or so you do affirm.
You have a paper plan right there?
Thank you. Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Shea.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state and spell your name for the record?
Yes, Katarina Tatkin, Katarina Tatkin.
So it sounds like you're a little soft-spoken, so we'll ask you to just either speak directly into the microphone or try to raise your voice a little, okay?
Okay.
Everybody here needs to hear what you're saying. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Katarina?
I'm a senior at NAU.
What are you studying?
I'm studying strategic communication.
All right, you grow up here in Arizona?
Yes, I'm from Scottsdale.
So you're a senior now. Does that make you a junior in the fall of 2015?
Right.
Yes?
Yes.
Take your time.
Yes.
Okay. And where were you living at the time?
I was living in Mountain View Hall.
All right. Do you remember what room or what floor you were living on?
Yes, I was living on the 3rd floor. I don't remember the room number.
Okay. Katarina, I'm going to ask you about the events of the early morning hours of October 9th of 2015. Do you recall that time frame?
Yes.
Okay. Somewhere around 1 o'clock in the morning, do you recall what you were doing? Were you at home?
I don't remember the exact time, but I remember before this incident I had just returned home.
Okay, returned from being out with your friends, or
Yeah.
had you been drinking at all?
No.
All right. So shortly before that time frame, you returned back to Mountain View. Was anybody in the room that you returned to, or were you alone?
All 3 of my roommates were home.
Okay. Do you remember if the window to your room was open or shut at the time?
It might have been cracked. I think our blinds were open.
All right. So was there something that happened that captured your attention in that time frame?
Yes. I had just returned home and was getting ready for bed and heard some arguing outside my window, so I looked out my window.
Okay. Was there anything unusual about hearing that?
Yes. I mean, it was pretty common living in Mountain View to hear people outside at late hours of the night, rowdy people, but I think it was unusual in the way that it was yelling.
Okay. And when you looked out the window, what did you see?
I saw 2 groups of boys walking along the sidewalk driveway area in front of my window.
All right. Are you able to, all right. So 2 groups, how many people were out there, do you know?
I want to say total, maybe I saw around 5 or more.
Okay.
I couldn't give you a definite number.
More than 10? Less than 10?
Less than 10, I believe.
All right. And what indicated to you that it was two different groups?
I think at the point that I looked out my window, both groups were walking in the same direction, but there was clearly distance between the two. So that's why I perceived it as two groups.
All right. Can you tell the jury how many were in each group, if you recall?
Possibly 3 to 4 people.
In each group?
I believe so.
They look like they were similar sizes to you?
Yes.
Can you describe, or do you recall the lighting conditions?
I believe there's street lamps along that driveway, so while it was dark and I couldn't really see faces, I was still able to see the bodies.
Okay. All right. You said they were moving in the same direction. Which direction was that?
Away from Franklin Street.
Okay. So from your point of view, looking out Mountain View Hall, they would have been moving from your right to your left?
Right, yes.
Was it like running or walking, or how would you describe the pace?
I would say walking briskly.
Okay. Did it look like a chase or anything like that?
No, it did not appear to be a chase. However, the groups were yelling at each other.
Okay. Both groups exchanging words?
I believe so.
Now, what happened next? Was there a change in that dynamic?
As I recall, members from each group sort of approached each other in a confrontational way. So the groups kind of came together at a point. And then verbally arguing, but I couldn't make out exactly what was being said. And then all of a sudden, there was a bright light.
So I'm going to stop you, and I'm going to still talk about the two groups. So was it all the members of both groups came towards each other? What do you recall?
If I recall, it was one member from the group in front, kind of approaching the second group behind them, and then it all happened very quickly where the two groups convened.
Okay. So the two groups got together, and you said verbally. Was there any kind of physical confrontation that you observed?
No.
Okay. And were you looking? Would you have seen it had there been one?
That's hard to say because since the boys were so close to each other, I didn't see a physical contact, personally.
Okay. But they were still arguing with each other?
Yes.
How long between when that happened before you saw the flashlight?
It happened pretty quickly, I would say in the course of seconds.
Okay. In addition to or can you describe the flashlight, where you saw it, where, was it moving, stationary?
Yeah, so I didn't know that it was a flashlight right away. It sort of came out of nowhere, and in my mind I was like, what is that? And it kind of flashed up at the building almost for a second. And and was kind of moving around a bit for a second. Yeah.
Okay. And did you see anything else?
Not at that point.
Okay. What happened next?
Then right after the flashlight, right after I saw the flashlight, that's when I heard a gunshot.
All right. Did you hear any, prior to the gunshot, did you hear any loud yell? Did you see or hear that person saying anything?
As I recall, I heard sort of a sense of, I don't know who said what. I just heard dialogue, but something along the lines of, "What are you doing? Oh my gosh, what are you doing? What is that?"
Okay. And then after that, you heard the shots?
Right.
Do you recall how many shots?
I don't recall an exact number.
Do you have an estimate?
Maybe 2. I couldn't say for sure from my memory.
Okay. Were you looking at the person with the flashlight when you heard the shots?
Yes.
Did you see a gun? Did you see shots?
I was sort of focused on the bright light, and didn't fully process that it was a gun until after the gunshots. So I couldn't make out like the actual, like I couldn't tell you what the gun looked like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was it, how would you describe the flashlight? Do you have anything besides it just being a flashlight?
Just a bright light. That's all I saw.
Okay.
At the time, I didn't know what I was looking at.
Did it seem brighter than a regular flashlight?
I think so, yeah.
Did you realize, I think you said that you didn't process until after, when you first heard the shots, what did you think was happening?
I think I thought maybe it was a BB gun or something, and it wasn't until I saw someone on the ground that it hit me that it was real.
All right, so let's talk about that then. You heard the shots, you were focused on the flashlight. What was the next thing you saw?
I saw someone on the ground,
Okay.
and I saw kind of the group of people still huddled and yelling was just...
Where you saw them on the ground?
Yes. One was in the rocks, kind of between that driveway and the parking lot, sort of to my right, and then the other one was also in the rocks, but to the left.
Okay. Did you notice anything about either one of them, or did you look long enough to see besides just that they were on the ground?
I didn't recognize them. I was on the phone with 911.
Okay, so you called 911 during that period of time?
Right.
Do you know when in that sequence of events you called 911?
After the first couple shots, or the first round of shots, I had my phone in my hand already, so I called 911 right then and was just yelling at them to send help because there were 2 people on the ground.
Having heard that and having seen that, did you respond in any way yourself besides calling 911? Did you continuously look out the window, or?
Right when the shots were fired, I was right at my window, but I ducked as an instant reaction for a split second, and then I looked back out, and then that's when I called 911.
Okay. While you were on 911, could you continue to hear what was going on outside, or were you paying attention?
Yes, I was focused on the people who had been shot because I was just telling the operator to come and that they needed help. And they were asking me what they were wearing, but I couldn't see what they were wearing.
Okay. What was the next thing that you observed going on outside?
Then, so after a short pause while I was on the phone, what happened between the group of people in between, I just noticed that there was still a group of people huddled. And then there was more shots after that short pause. And yeah, that's...
All right, so let's talk about, there were two things there. You saw a group of people huddled. Were they near or away from the people who were on the ground?
They were near.
Were they moving? Were they getting closer, further away?
I think initially they backed off in a reaction of shock. And then it looked like they had convened again.
Together with each other or near the people on the ground?
Together with each other.
Okay. And roughly where was that along the sidewalk, if you recall?
Just in the middle of the sidewalk.
All right. And we'll bring up some photo type thing in a minute, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
You said that there was a second cluster of shots?
Yes.
How many, do you recall?
I don't recall.
More than one?
I can't say for sure.
But you definitely heard shots?
Right.
Did you see anybody helping anybody on the ground?
Yes, I saw a girl holding down one of their legs or one of their wounds.
Okay. And which was one of, when you say one of their, you mean one of the two people on the ground?
Right.
And which one of those, do you recall?
I think I have it in a drawing that I made. I don't remember if it was the one on the right or the left.
All right. So you're referring to a map you referred to during your police interview?
Right.
Okay. But you don't recall now whether it was the person on the right or the left?
I couldn't say for sure. I think it was the one on the right.
Okay. To your right.
To my right.
You indicated that you called 911. Were you inclined to call 911 before the shooting?
No.
Okay. And besides the gun, did you see anybody with any weapons?
No.
Did you see any kind of physical violence other than the shooting?
No, just purely verbal from what I saw.
After the shooting, did you hear any specific things that anybody said?
Yes, I heard, well, after the initial shots, I heard just general panic, like, what did you do? Call 911. Yeah, that's about it.
Did you hear anything that you thought was said by somebody who was shot?
Yeah, I heard one of the victims on the ground screaming, saying that he was dying.
Are you able to determine who said that, or?
It was Colin.
Did you know Colin at the time?
No.
So you're referring to learning who that person was later?
Yes.
When you looked out the window, did you recognize anybody?
No.
And when you were originally interviewed about this, did you know who any of these people were?
No.
Prior to the gun coming out, did you think that this was a life and death situation you were looking at?
No.
Like it. Like it. Your Honor, referring again to Exhibit 316, if I may. Katarina, there's a couple of different views we can give you if you can't answer my questions, okay? So just indicate if you needed to see it from a different direction, okay?
Okay.
Do you know what building we're looking at?
Yes.
What building is that?
That's Mountain View Hall.
Are you able to determine from this view which one of those windows was your window?
Yes. Did you want me to?
Yes, if
Pointed.
there's a laser pointer up there, please use
Yeah.
that.
My window was this one right here.
Okay. And of course, this is daytime, but it was at night, right?
Right.
But you've looked upon that sidewalk and you've walked on that sidewalk at night, is that correct?
Yes.
And is it fairly well lit?
I would say so.
And in any event, you could see from your perspective, is that correct?
Right.
Now, you can see in this photograph that it appears there might be trees there. Were those trees obstructing your view at all?
No, they weren't. I could sort of see over them, I would say.
Okay.
They were not obstructing.
Now, I understand that there's that black curtain thing there that was not there when you were observing what you've described to the jury. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Again, if you need me to use a different perspective, let me know. Are you able to, from this perspective, describe where the two groups were when you first looked out the window?
Yeah. They were, when I looked out, they were walking from over here, this way. And then they convened about right here, I would say.
All right. How long a period of time was that you watched them walking and convene? Was that seconds? Was that a longer?
I would say seconds, yeah.
All right. And then where was the flashlight when you first saw it?
Right in this area, I believe.
Okay. And did it remain there?
Yes.
It didn't move that you saw?
No.
So you can see that there's the bush there and the rocky division between the sidewalk and the parking lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Said a
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right before the shooting, did you see any movement? Anybody moving in one direction or another?
As I recall, it looked confrontational, as in people were moving towards each other.
The two groups on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Relative to the flashlight, did you see anybody move towards the flashlight move, anything, only if you recall?
I recall people moving slightly away, like in a reaction relative to the flashlight.
And then the shots.
Right.
Did you estimate I know that you were on 911, so if you can't, that's okay, but can you estimate the amount of time between the first cluster of shots and the second cluster?
I couldn't tell you a number of seconds. I just recall that there was a pause.
All right. Did you see any action, any movement in between the two sets of shots?
I don't recall what I saw.
Was the flashlight, when you saw the flashlight at any point, did you see it illuminating a person?
Not particularly from my perspective.
All right. And can you, was the flashlight or the gun in the same place after the, right before the second shots, or had it moved?
I don't recall the exact placement.
So I know you called 911, Katarina. Did you see all of the police response?
Yes, I did.
You can turn that off. All right, and that was, how long after the shooting would you say that the police arrived?
Well, after I got off the phone with 911, I went to check on the other girls in my hall. So by the time I got back to my room, the police were there.
Okay. Nothing further at this time, Judge?
House exam.
Hi.
We'll look at the diagram a little bit more later. Do you recall, was your window open or closed?
The blinds were open, and I'm not sure if our window was actually open.
Do you know what your usual habit was at 1 o'clock in the morning with your window?
Yeah, I think it was definitely at least cracked.
Okay. And you said that you had seen these two groups walking along the sidewalk, less than 10, but more than 5 or 5 or more?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not sure exactly how many?
No.
Now, you said you could see, because there was some lighting in the parking lot. Could you make out faces?
No.
Now, when you first saw the light, was your focus mostly, once you saw the light, was your focus mostly on that light?
Yes.
You indicated that you thought you saw some people back away from the light,
Yeah.
but you can't recall the movement of every single person that was on that sidewalk, right?
Right.
Now, you didn't, all you recall is you saw some people step back, right?
Yes.
But you can't be certain if anyone else moved forward, right?
I did not see that.
You didn't see it, you also can't rule it out, right?
I mean, I saw people step back, so
Right.
that's what I saw.
But you don't know how many people exactly were out there, right?
No.
And your focus was on the light once you saw it, right?
Right.
So you can't be certain that there weren't other people that you didn't see that moved forward, right?
Yeah.
You didn't see it, but you can't rule it out, right?
That's just from my recollection. Yeah.
In preparing for today, did you have an opportunity to look back at transcripts from what you told the officers the night of?
Yes.
Okay. Will that help refresh your recollection of things?
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and give you your transcript, so we might need to refer to it going forward, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Katarina, take a look at that and just confirm. That's a transcript from your interview with the officer on October 9th, right?
Yes.
And that's what you reviewed in preparing for today?
Yes.
Okay. So, earlier you told us that you saw these two groups. It was definitely confrontational. There was yelling back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And they were moving briskly along the sidewalk, right?
Right.
And that was coming from Franklin?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see, did it appear to you that it was about to be a fight?
I thought it was possible.
Did you see anyone charge anyone?
I saw, like I referenced before, at least one member sort of approach the other group.
Do you recall, I'll direct you to line 19 on the first page there. This is what you told the
Yeah.
officer. There was a, well,
What's your objection?
my question was whether she saw someone charge, and she doesn't seem,
That question.
right, so now I'm confronting her with her prior inconsistent statement.
The objection's overruled. Go ahead. Mr.
Okay,
Kelly.
so back to line 19 here. This is what you told the officer, right? There was about to be a fight, and I watched one of them, like, charge another like that. Is that accurate? That's what you told the officer? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So you did see somebody charge somebody, right?
I think that's to what I'm referring, the person sort of confronting that other group. Yeah.
Right. Now, I think you already clarified this before. That you told the officer that it was a brawl. Did you clarify what you meant by that?
Where did I say
I'll
that?
direct you to page 9. I can't recall if you brought this up just now during direct or not.
Objection, same, it's hearsay, Judge.
What line are you referring to?
It's page 9, line 2.
And what's your question?
The question is, if she told the officer that she saw a brawl, where the brawl happened.
And your objection is hearsay?
That's correct.
Overruled.
So you can go ahead and answer. Did you tell the officer that you referred to what you saw out there as a brawl?
I'm not sure where I said that.
Okay, so look at page 9 and line 2. You said, but yeah, that's where, like, the brawl happened.
Yeah, I think, are you asking what I meant by that?
Yeah, go ahead and because you do explain it here, so go ahead and tell
Yeah.
us what you meant.
I think by brawl, I meant the confrontation of the two groups.
So to you, when you say confrontation and you use the word brawl, are you not referring to physical confrontation?
No, I did not see any physical contact.
Okay. But you did use the word brawl.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you told us earlier you weren't sure how many guys were in each group, right?
Right.
Okay. But when you spoke to the officer that day on October 9th, didn't you tell him that there were 5 guys in the one group? I'll direct you to page 10, line 3.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So you don't know the total of everyone that was out there, but one group had 5 guys.
I remember seeing about 5 guys in total in that group. I don't know if there was anyone else around.
Okay, so let's make sure we get this clear. When you say that group, you were referring earlier to 2 groups.
Right.
So when you refer to the 5 guys, are you referring to 5 guys in one group?
I'm referring to 5 guys in total.
Okay. Now, you heard, you've told us about some of the statements that you heard individuals say out there. You couldn't make out everything that was said, right?
Right.
And you have told us about some of the statements that were made. I want to direct your line, page 10. Did you hear anyone use a derogatory slur towards anyone else?
I did hear it thrown out.
Okay. What did you hear?
The derogatory slur.
Yeah, I know. It's indelicate, but go ahead and say it.
I heard the words fucking faggot.
And at any point, did you see anyone crowding around someone else?
As I perceived it, I didn't see crowding around a single person. I just saw a confrontation as a group.
Okay. So I'm going to direct you, again, stay on page 10, down to line 18, your answer there. You see where you're referring to them crowding around?
Yeah.
Okay. So, having looked at that, does that refresh your recollection? Do you recall that they crowded around somebody?
I think I said crowded around them.
Right.
So,
So you did see some group of guys crowd around other guys?
yeah, but I wouldn't say, like, I don't think I meant around, like, in a circle. I just meant crowded together. That's what I recall.
So it didn't make a perfect circle, but you did say crowded around them,
Yeah,
right? Around means around, right?
right.
So it wasn't one line and one line, right?
It was, from my point of view, it was like a group huddled together.
Okay. We can pull up for it. Okay, so I just want to clarify, the group that you saw walking was 2 separate groups, right, at first?
Yes,
And then they sort of convened where, on the sidewalk where the bush and sort of in the middle of that screen there, right?
yeah,
And when you were referring to walking briskly, you were referring to them walking from Franklin, which, in the way I'm facing the screen, is the left end of that screen, right?
yes.
And they walked briskly. Now, when you first saw them, they were 2 separate groups?
Yes, I wasn't sure if they were together or not.
Okay. But you could make out that they weren't being friendly with each other, right?
Right,
Okay. And by the time we get to the end of the bush there in the middle of this screen, they're not 2 separate groups anymore. They now have merged together.
as I recall, they walked past and then were kind of more towards the right of the screen.
Okay, go ahead and use your pointer and
Okay.
point where you saw them converge.
So both groups of people were walking this way and kind of got to over here, but then convened back over around here.
When you heard that derogatory slur, where were the groups then?
I don't remember the exact point that I heard that.
Wait a moment, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Mr. Shea?
Thank you, Judge. Just a couple of questions. Katarina, do you still have that transcript in front of you?
Yes.
And that was Exhibit 88?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to refer you back to that same page, that page 10, line, the question begins on line 1. So you were asked how many were in there, and then the trailing group, is that correct?
Yes.
And you indicated that it was like 5 guys or so, right?
Right.
And the next question is total? And you said, yeah.
Yes.
So not inconsistent with what you said here today.
Right.
You told the jury during your direct examination that you saw one from each group, right? Going towards each other?
Right.
All right. So, again, not inconsistent with when counsel questioned you about that. You had described that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And that's when counsel asked you about one person charging another. That was what you were describing there?
Yes.
So did you see anybody charge the person who had the flashlight?
At that point, the flashlight, I hadn't seen it yet, so I'm unsure where that person was at that point.
Okay. But it would be fair to say that you did not see a person charging the person with the flashlight.
Right.
And the derogatory slur that was discussed, do you know which group that came from?
No, I sort of heard, I remember hearing yelling and name calling, I think, from lots of voices, so I couldn't tell you who said that.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, I'll turn to members of our jury and see if they have any questions for Ms. Tatkin. Does not appear that we do. Can this witness be excused?
Yes, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Tatkin, thank you so much for your testimony. You are excused.
Thank you.
All right, folks, let's go ahead and recess for the day. Thank you all for your hard work. Please remember the admonition. We'll get started tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m.